know, the NFL makes sure that they only invite the players that are going to be picked early in the draft. It's a very embarrassing, emasculating thing when you are at the draft and you're not picked. It's humiliating is what it is. So the players that get invited are handpicked because they are projected to be drafted in the first round of the draft. It would be a big surprise if they are not drafted in the first round. So one of the names that has agreed to attend is not projected to be picked in the first round. That would be Alabama quarterback Jaylen Milroe. Who goofed? I've got to know. So we're hearing that teams were surprised, is the word that is being used, surprised that Milroe got the invite and surprised he accepted the invite. According to, at one point, one of the top draft gurus, Todd McShay, who's doing a podcast, Take a Number from the Deli, Todd McShay tells us that people in the league are genuinely confused as to why he, meaning Milroe, accepted the invite to Green Bay. Close quote. So let us discuss the question for the esteemed panel, which you are part of. The question, why would Jaylen Milroe accept the invite to the NFL draft if he's not going to be picked in the first round? So I've got paint by numbers, toddler, and keepsake. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to grill some kielbasas is what we're going to do. And they know a thing or two about grilling meats in Wisconsin. So to kick off here, Jaylen Milroe, the old Alabama quarterback from last year and recently, my theory is he's taking a shot in the dark. I mean, that goes without saying. He's taking a shot in the dark. It's possible that he just really wanted to visit northern Wisconsin in April. It's like it's on his bucket list. He's like, I don't know. I might not play on a team that plays Green Bay, and maybe I won't go there. I want to go to Green Bay in April. And so he gets to accomplish that. And he can eat some of those delicious, and they are wonderful, the delicious appetizers behind the stage there in the green room. They've got the cheese curds are wonderful there. The other appetizers are supposedly amazing. They've got the mini tacos, the mozzarella stick, which is always solid, pigs in blanket, the mac and cheese bites. Go with the mac and cheese bites. Really good. We're talking chef's kiss, all right? We're talking chef's kiss. Now, there's also a scenario where Jaylen Milroe has some kind of under-the-table hush-hush deal that a team has told him he will be picked in the first round of the draft, and so that's why he's attending. It is more likely than not that that is not the case. It is also more likely than not that the NFL made a offer to Jaylen Milroe thinking he would not accept, and he called the NFL's bluff. Like somebody from the NFL, like, well, you're invited, and they didn't think he would do it. It was a head fake, and he accepted it, and so here we are. So here's what I think happened. Right? Here's what I think happened here. Playing the speculation game, it is more likely than not that the Alabama quarterback Jaylen Milroe is treating this sojourn to the NFL draft like an art project. He is not projected to be drafted in the first round. It would be a big surprise if he is picked in the first round. So it's a paint-by-numbers situation. The art of manifestation. He's painting, connecting the numbers. It's the art of manifestation. That Milroe, the theory is he will get drafted higher than he should. Let me make my pitch here. He's going to get drafted higher than he should because he'll be on camera throughout the draft, and he will become a storyline. Boy, we're getting late in the first round, and there's Milroe. He's sitting there by himself like a sad puppy dog, right? That whole thing. Got that sad, long face, and his family's there. They're all dressed up, and what's going to – will anyone pick him? And he's the top player left on the board and all that stuff. And so then he'll get a pity pick. A pity pick! Somebody will take him out of pity higher than he should be. How about that? Pity pick. Pity pick. Jaylen Milroe. All right, now furthermore, to the conspiracy theory files, you know I am a sucker for a good conspiracy theory. That was a term the government came up with years ago to downplay, to poo-poo people that had alternative ideas. They called it a conspiracy theory. Now, there are new wrinkles in the story that we talked about in a previous episode of the show involving Derek Carr. Now, we're now reading that other teams were under the impression this offseason that the Saints quarterback Derek Carr was looking to leave New Orleans. He was seeking a trade. That through intermediaries, through back channels, Derek Carr was looking around trying to find a new team to play for. But wait, there's more. The Saints had knowledge that he had some problems with his shoulder, and they didn't think that he would actually miss the season. They thought, well, he's had this issue. It's no big deal. And they didn't think he would threaten to miss the 2025 NFL season. Well, Carr's posse, if you will, had told people that the injury actually happened way back in 2023. So a couple years ago, he played through the injury and played last season through the injury. It never fully healed. So now I get to the rest of the story, the red pill part of the story, if you know the Matrix, the part of the story which is the most interesting. So is it true that Derek Carr had ulterior motives, that Derek Carr was sad because Dennis Allen was no longer the head coach in New Orleans, and he had no interest of playing, for Kellen Moore, the nerd coach that took over there, the former Cowboy and Eagle assistant and Charger assistant who's now the head coach in New Orleans. So is it true that Derek Carr threatened to go under the knife to fix his injury, a procedure that he could have avoided, could have continued to play, and rather than play out the 2025 NFL season as a way to stick it to New Orleans? So the conspiracy is, again, that Derek Carr was planning on playing this season because the Saints did what they did. He decided that, I'm going to have that procedure. I don't necessarily need to have this procedure right now, but I'm going to have this procedure. All right, so on the Maller scale of believability, which I know Whoopi Pie Blair loves, 1 to 10, that 10's the gospel. 10's as high as it goes. I'm at a 7.5 on the Maller scale of believability. It makes sense. And let me make my elevator pitch why it makes sense, why the conspiracy theory makes sense. Okay. Derek Carr, let's say he did want to leave the Saints. That makes sense. Why would you want to stay there? The team blows. You're an older player by modern NFL standards. You only got a couple of years left to be a starter in the NFL. Why would you want to spend it on a suckbag team like the Saints, right? No, there's no reason to. When you had teams that are consistent playoff teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers that were looking for a quarterback, why would you not? And there were people connecting Derek Carr, likely from his camp, connecting him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it makes sense. Like if you wanted to go to a team that had a chance to win, you'd have to leave the Saints. And the Saints, without really negotiating, just they moved some numbers around on the contract, and Derek Carr ended up staying in New Orleans, meaning the Saints would not play ball. They wouldn't just get out of the deal and let him leave. And so if it is true that he wanted out, not necessarily because of Kellen Moore, but he just didn't want to play there anymore because he knows the team sucks, he decided to act like a toddler, Derek Carr, and have a conniption fit, moaning and groaning, and doing some arithmetic here, because we like a little Maller math, the arithmetic, to even up the books. It's like, all right, I wanted to leave. You knew I wanted to leave. I didn't say it publicly, but you wouldn't let me leave, and you made me stay. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call my doctor up, and doctors love to operate, and we're going to have a little medical procedure, so screw you. That's it. Revenge is a dish best served in the injury tent, and I'm going to be in the injury tent. And let's say stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. All right, now, the last thing. To Dallas we go. The obligatory mention of the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. This is so stupid. So Micah Parsons showed up to the workouts, the offseason workouts, which began on Monday. And the reporting on this is hilarious. Breathless reporting. Micah Parsons kept his word. He was in attendance at the Cowboys' voluntary offseason workouts. and these amazing rah-rah fanboys in the Cowboys media. Slobber, 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 lick, lick, lick. That's how it goes. It's a slobber fest. So he's entering the final year of his deal, and there has been negotiations for Micah Parsons to get the highest paid non-quarterback contract, which is currently held by Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's seen as a good faith move, which has led many of the players, the media that put the players on the pedestal in Dallas, have led the media to say, hey, he did his thing, pay Micah Parsons. So, Cowboys defensive end Micah Parsons, keeping his promise, should he be celebrated for showing up to voluntary off-season workouts, because that's what's happening. Whether you think it should happen or not, that is what's happening right now. And to that, I give a yawn and a stretch, okay? I give a yawn and a stretch. Let's give him, rather than just give him the contract, why don't we give Micah Parsons a keepsake award? How about Courage in Sports? Courage in Sports for Micah Parsons. Reminds me of my favorite routine from Chris Rock, the one-time big comedian. I guess he's like, doesn't really work that much, made enough money, doesn't have to work that much. But Chris Rock, when he ranted about how ridiculous it is in life when people want credit for doing things they're supposed to do. Like, it's voluntary, but you're supposedly like the leader of the pack, and you want a celebration with balloons and cake because you showed up to voluntary workouts. It's like being a leader on defense, which you like to claim you are and all that stuff, and you showed up to your job, and so all these brown nosers in the media are just lining up. This is by the way, the first time that Micah Parsons deemed it important enough to show up to off-season workouts, the voluntary off-season workouts. He's never done that before. And we'll see if he continues to show up and whether he actually does anything other than just make an appearance and then move on. Parsons is going to play, and I really hope he'll be okay. I don't know if the power will be on at his apartment, his little studio apartment there in Dallas. I don't know if he'll be able to afford to take public transportation to the team facility to work out, because the fifth-year option, man, it's with a heavy heart that I have to tell you that Micah Parsons is only going to make $24 million this season. What kind of effed up world is the NFL? Micah Parsons, he's only going to make $24 million. Not fair. I think we should start a GoFundMe. How about that? How about a bake sale? I'll make some brownies. We'll make a baked brownie. I'll make cookies. We'll have a bake sale. That'll be the way to go, right? Help him out. Poor bastard.